I'm Shirley, and I'm retired, woo-woo, former special ed teacher for, 18 years, something like that, and then became a special ed consultant with AEA 267 up in Cedar Falls, Waterloo area, and I worked in some rural schools, all different age levels. Retired, I've been a board member for Learning Disabilities Association for a long time. I was on and helped co-chair our state conferences, and then I got away from it with family responsibilities, and now I'm back on it again since I have time. So my passion is working with parents and educators and helping them find resources that they can use to help their children to be more successful. Advocating, I have knowledge of how schools work, how IEPs work. I did evaluations, so I can give lots of information about that too. And this is my former coworker. She's still working. I still work, at least for another year. I'm Theresa Stensland, and I'm from AEA 267. I'm a special education consultant, but like Shirley, I was a classroom or special education teacher at the elementary level primarily. I did do a stint with junior high kiddos, and that was fun. But I currently have my current assignment is a small rural school that's just a kindergarten through second grade building and a junior high. So it's 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So it's really two ends of the spectrum, but I have never done high school. So, but anyway, this is my 31st year in education. I taught for about 15 years and then have been a consultant ever since. And so, yeah, my passion too is just exactly what Shirley said. It's helping parents feel comfortable with IEP process, because I do evaluations as well. And I mean, it's just helping, I guess, because I've had worn the parent hat as well. I kind of know, and Shirley has too. We both have had with IEPs, and it's really important to me because I know how it feels. Even as a consultant, sitting at the table with all of the educators that I know personally and professionally, and it's a different feeling when you're wearing the parent hat. So that is one thing that I really try to strive for, is to help parents feel comfortable in that process and know that you're a team member too. So. But yes, I've been on the LD board. This is my second year of being on the board. I'm the secretary. Well, let's get rolling then. I'll have my techie assistant keep it going. I have to say the acoustics in here are something to be desired. Just no fault of anyone's, but it's just the size of the room and so forth. So I'm going to stand close to you. If you ever can't hear me, let me know. And same with Theresa. Yeah. Just give a holler. And if you have questions and want to interrupt, that is just fine. We are just going to roll over some things. So this is the overview of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share some of the boring research, the why early intervention is important, because that's just the kind of stuff I love. Principles that inform practice. And then the two of us are going to go into ideas to promote literacy skills for infants and toddlers, preschoolers. We're going to talk about early signs of a learning disability. We're going to talk about a program, Get Ready to Read, more resources for you, First Teacher of Iowa, and then we have a handout with even more resources for you. So lots of good things. So the why. We'll see how much, I'm sorry to do this to 5 people, but what do we already know about brain development? You decide if this is a myth or a truth, and just blurt it out. Here's the first one. At birth, the brain is fully developed, just like one's heart or stomach. Everybody says no? You guys are smart. Because actually the brain's cells are formed before birth, but most of the connections are made during infancy and early childhood.
Next one. The brain's development depends entirely on the genes with which you were born. Myth? Okay, you guys are really good, because really the most, I mean, it impacts, of course, but the interaction with the environment and the stimulation makes a whole world of difference. And I'll tell you a personal experience here. My son was born very premature. His lungs weren't developed. They kept tearing. He had 6 different chest tubes. Yeah, all within a few days at the University of Iowa intensive care on 100% oxygen on a ventilator, and that wasn't going so well for him. Today, he is a manufacturing consultant and travels all over the country. He has his master's degree and he's very successful. He has flat feet and a little floppy muscle tone, and that's the only long-term effect. But we did lots and lots of early intervention. They told us he was deaf because he didn't pass the cribogram, and he just wasn't developed. He has perfect hearing. They told us that he could be blind because he had the RLF check since he had so much oxygen on the ventilator. He's one of my 3 children who doesn't wear glasses. Then they told us that he was probably developmentally delayed or disabled, and we surpassed that, but we did early physical therapy, we did intervention, I talked to him, I sang to him, I read to him, we did baby exercises every day. I mean, everything that we did. They told us that he had cerebral palsy in his legs when he was 18 months old, and he doesn't. And my therapist told me that the early intervention really made the difference. He's not a big, strong, sturdy guy, but he has no difficulty with mobility. So very happy to hear that. Okay, next myth. A toddler's brain is less active than that of a college student. That is a myth. If you've ever worked with 2- and 3-year-olds, they are smarter than the adults who are around them. They have more brain cells. In fact, at 3 years old, the brain has formed about 1 trillion connections. That's about twice as many as an adult would do. So yeah, next time your 3-year-old outsmarts you, there's a good reason. Okay, talking to a baby is not important because he can't understand what you're saying. That one goes without saying. That is definitely a myth. It is important that we do that. And children need special help and specific educational toys. You have to go out and buy the expensive ones to develop their brain power. That is a myth. And we have some homemade toys we're going to show to you today. So, yeah. Okay. All right, the science of early childhood. And this is from Dr. Jack Shonkoff. He is at the Center of Developing Child at Harvard University. And we're just going to show you this couple-minute video clip. And he talks about brain development.
Literally does provide a foundation for just about all of the challenging social problems that our society and other societies face. What we're learning, not just from behavioral and developmental research, but also now from exciting developments in neuroscience and molecular biology, is how much early experience from birth, in fact, even before birth, how much this experience literally gets into our bodies and shapes our learning capacities, our behaviors, and our physical and mental health. The brain is basically built from the bottom up. First, the brain builds basic circuits that are responsible for basic skills, and then more complex circuits are built on top of those basic circuits as we develop more complex skills. Biologically, the brain is prepared to be shaped by experience. It's expecting the experiences that a young child has to literally influence the formation of its circuitry. It's built into our biology. The interaction between genetics and experience that shapes brain architecture is embedded in the reciprocal relationships that children have with the adults in their lives. And by that we mean what we refer to as the serve and return nature of children's interaction with their adults. Development and the impact of experience on development is not a one-way street. It's a back and forth interaction. The brain is a highly integrated organ which has multiple sections that specialize in different processes. So we have parts of the brain that are involved more in cognitive function and other parts that are involved in processing of emotion and parts involved in seeing and hearing. So if a child is emotionally kind of well put together and socially competent, that will affect more positive and productive learning. And if a child is preoccupied with fears or anxiety or is dealing with considerable stress, no matter how intellectually gifted that child might be, his or her learning is going to be impaired by that kind of emotional interference. So when we talk about healthy development in the early years, and particularly when we talk about preparing children to succeed in school, we cannot separate cognitive development from social and emotional development. You can't have one without the other. All development builds on what comes before. So when children experience stable, nurturing relationships, it fosters the development of healthy circuitry. And when children experience uncertainty or instability or abusive or neglectful relationships, it literally disrupts the circuitry and the brain's architecture as it's being built. Over time, this has a wear and tear effect. And the more stress you have, the more causes of stress, and the longer your stress response, the more likely you are to have a whole range of problems later on. It can affect the immune system, it can affect the cardiovascular system, and this is why excessive, prolonged stress early in life is associated with a higher prevalence later, not only of learning problems and behavior difficulties, but also physical and mental health problems. Because the brain is optimally flexible and plastic early in life, but as it develops its circuitry and refines its circuitry, it loses some of its flexibility, which is why intervening early is so important, because as we often say, when it comes to brain circuitry, it's better to get it right the first time than to try to fix it later.
Okay, so the takeaway is for all you parents out there, the more you do with your child, the more you do that serve and return and the interactions, the more likely your child is to have a better development and reducing stress. So think about factors that create stress, and those are things that can impact development. Critical periods of brain development, you've heard of these terms, prime times, windows of opportunity. We need to catch them when they're young. You heard Dr. Shonkoff say it's easier to do it right the first time than to try to remediate because it's harder and it takes longer. It's just like me trying to learn a new trick. I can do it when maybe I was younger, but not so much right now. I did want to show you this clip too. James Heckman is Nobel Memorial Prize winner. He's an economics expert. And in these political times, I saw a clip of him on the news recently because what his message is if you invest in early education, including from pre-birth on, you are going to have a big return. And it will do more for your community, more for your economy than, what was the term he used? Building roads and buildings, that kind of thing.
Everything we know in economics says the return on investment in people, especially very young people, very, very high. Right now, a lot of economists don't have a clue of what's going on. I mean, a lot of economists, and probably me included. But when we start thinking about how to get fixes to get the economy started again, we have to be a little more careful than we've been in the past. We have a big emphasis now on potholes, infrastructure it's called. The new director of OMB, Peter Orszag, has actually written a definitive study of what the economic rate of return is to potholes. And he found that they're pretty low, actually. What I learned and became so important was that investing in people was as important as buildings or structures or roads, although those are important too. There are many projects out there, but few have the rate of return of early childhood investments, offering 10% annual rate of return. So for the same dollars, you can actually invest by training teachers and training children. But what comes out of it is a reduction in crime, the promotion of schooling, the fact that we're going to get a more skilled workforce in the future. There are very, very few government programs that have any return close to this. These rates of return calculations have not entered American political life to the extent they need to. This is not just speculation. This is not, I represent no lobby group. It's a piece of analytical work. Early childhood programs is one of the highest returns that we have on the docket right now available to make in American society. So it's foolish not to use it.
And for all of you who need to go before school boards or you want to write your representatives, this is, go to that link. It's the Heckman, what does it say, Theresa? HeckmanEquation.org. Yep, and quote that because for, if you're looking at numbers, what gives you the best return? Early investment. And that 13% investment return refers to children who are born at risk or in poverty. So definitely it does have an impact, and it's a lifelong impact, not just a one-shot deal. So we need to continue to promote early intervention and early access, including free preschools and services for our kids. Okay. All right, so why is this early intervention important? We need to have a rich country, and if we don't start investing in our infants and toddlers and preschoolers, that won't be happening. Brain architecture, skill begets skill, meaning that we build, that's how your brain develops. You build on one thing, then another and another. So if you're missing some pieces, that's a learning problem. Serve and return, you're going to hear us say that all day long because that's the interaction, that stimulation that is most impactful with our little ones. You can't do one. Today we're going to focus on literacy, but you heard Dr. Shonkoff say you need to look at the whole child. They need that emotional development. They need to feel safe. They need to be nurtured. You need to develop in all areas, not just one domain. Toxic stress, you heard Dr. Shonkoff talk about, and pay now or pay later. Either put our money and our investment into early childhood, or we'll be paying for those later on in life. Have you seen the video, Change the First Few Years and You Change Everything? We gotta see it. It's just a couple minutes.
That's me at 4 months old. I'm one of the thousands of little miracles born into poverty every day. That's my mom. She's 17 and never finished high school. She's got some big dreams for me, but she's alone and she's scared. This is my first birthday. That's my grandma, my cousin Tanya, and her boyfriend Kevin. We all live together. It's cold and crowded. I hope we move soon. I don't like Kevin. He's always yelling. This is my second birthday. We're all at daycare, strapped in watching TV again. I wish I could just run around. This is my third birthday. My brother William's taking care of me while my mom sleeps. She works the night shift, so we can't turn up the TV, but we get to go to bed whenever we want. This is my fourth birthday. We're sleeping at my aunt's this month. I don't know when my dad's coming home, but I'm hungry and I miss him. This is my fifth birthday. This is my first day of kindergarten. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm unprepared because I didn't get the right start. I'm twice as likely to be in special education. 30% more likely to never go to college. 70% more likely to be arrested for a violent crime. Become a teen parent. Drop out of school. Never hold a job. Spend the rest of my life in poverty. My mom plays with me all the time. She smiles a lot now, and she knows she's not alone anymore. Grandma, Tanya, and Kevin read me a story every night before I go to bed. I go to my school every day, where I get to run and play and see all my new friends. Will and I go to preschool together. Today we learned about dinosaurs and played a counting game. Every morning, my dad and I brush our teeth and do breakfast together. We have our own place now. Nana, we'll always be together. This is my first day of kindergarten. I'm rested, I'm eager, I'm confident, I'm curious, I'm prepared. I'm ready. I am your future. Change the first 5 years, and you change everything. Anyone interested in investing?
He's going to be an executive someday. But staggering statistics, I mean, my goodness, 2 times more likely to be in special ed, 30% never go to college, 70% more likely to be arrested for a violent crime, become a teen parent, drop out, never hold a job, or spend the rest of their life in poverty. Yeah, we need to invest now. That's the why. Basic milestones for infants and toddlers. We're going to define infants as birth to 12 months and toddlers that 1 through the end of age 2 years.
All right. Infants and toddlers. What a fun little bunch. Our focus is on literacy development, but it's important to note that the children need support or stimulation in all areas of development in order to reach their potential. That would include social emotional, speech and language, which does overlap with literacy, physical, and our cognitive domains. So you should have a handout that talks about promoting literacy for infants 0 to 12 months. So we're talking about literacy-rich experiences, word activities. There's so many things. On their handout, do they have all of the different, things like patty cake, peekaboo, all that kind of stuff that you do almost naturally. And alphabet exposure, like alphabet blocks, ABCs, singing all of that, talking about letters and pictures, like this is a dog, dog. You can expand that, but it's just looking through books or materials in your environment, things that you have at home, anything will work to promote that conversation with your child. There's print awareness and reading. We have things like the first picture books. There's Baby's First Library. Anything that might be like high contrast books, black, white.
Could not check out a black and white book from the library. Everybody had them out because babies don't see colors very well when they're little. So the black and white baby book is like the most popular. Impossible to get.
Yeah, of course. Some of the classics like Goodnight Moon. Actually, this table here is kind of our little-ish, birth to 12 or infants, toddlers, but anything with photographs, taking pictures of yourselves or doing things, interacting, awesome to use with children. And
I would recommend for yours, twins, for increasing expressive vocabulary, make a picture book with you, dad, the kids. What's this? Because youngsters will pick out names of faces first and things that are familiar, and then go with common objects, maybe their favorite toys, and do the what's this, and then start to build a sentence with it. I see a.
I always like to take pictures of their actual things, like
Yes.
the board makers. I don't like those.
Mm-hmm.
Stick people in things that aren't familiar. Well, it's a book. Well, that's not my book. So
Right.
actual things out of their bedroom or their environment.
Favorite foods, I eat, and let them, finish that, make their own little book.
Yeah. There's so many things that, like I say, you can do out there that really you don't have to purchase them because you can make them all up on your own. Little kids, they aren't fussy as far as what you choose to do with them.
Singing songs, everything is a song. Time to pick up is a song, time to go to bed is a song, time to do just about anything is a song. And use the same words over and over. You're laughing, do you do the same thing? Yeah, I mean, they pay attention to that, they remember it, so anything like that you can connect.
Anytime they are interested in picking something up for food to eat, you can start putting something in their hands to help them scribble, help them just whatever to develop that fine motor component. And things like, you can have something on their Jello on their little trays and have them just mess around with that. I know it's kind of messy, but it is. Anything that develops that part. Um, you know, Other tools, like if they're interested in picking up a spoon to feed themselves, then doing something with, the fat pencils or the crayons, anything like that. And then sound awareness, any kind of games. Oh gosh, Bumblebee. There's a few there that you can look at. And then vocalizing and listening, any of the cooing and the babbling. That is something that's done face to face. It's really important that they see your faces, that they see your expressions. As far as nonverbal communication and singing, we just kind of talked about that. So that's on 0 to 12 months. And then toddlers, here we're also talking again, all of these different categories, but literacy-rich experiences, giving them any chances throughout the day to interact with books, any kind of materials, drawing, and they love that kind of thing. Calling attention to the print in the environment. So it's kind of like looking at signs around us. I often stop and think, my husband is a firefighter in Cedar Falls. And so my son, Alex, when he was 3, he learned the exit sign pretty fast. And we went to stay on our way out to Michigan. And so in the hotel that we were staying in, he's like, Dad, exit, Dad, exit, and he was finding every single exit sign ever. But, it's all of that. It's looking in the environment. Kids will recognize the golden arches, I'm sure, but that's another, thing that you can talk about with them and explain all of that. Taking a look at any kind of books that talks about alphabet and sounds, all of those kinds of things. But we've got a whole bunch of things listed here. I won't talk about each one.
First example, rich teacher talk. That can be rich parent talk too. And I love the examples I put in there. Instead of line leader or cleanup helper or zookeeper, you become a class management specialist, or the weather watcher becomes a meteorologist. So it's just another way to expand vocabulary. So instead of bedtime, it's time to slumber. Just creative ways to throw new words into the mix. And again, the serve and return. Listen to everything your child has to say, and even if you can't understand it, try to interpret it and restate it back so they're getting that back and forth, back and forth. Storybook reading. You need to read to your kids. It says 1 to 2 times a day, the more the better. And having a bedtime routine of storybook time is just really nice way to build in that relationship with your child. There are a ton of books over there. There are lots of rhyming books. I love Brown Bear, Brown Bear. I love Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. I mean, those are just all fun books that you can do activities with. Books with rhyme, rhythm, and repetition. There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why. She followed the fly. Phonological awareness. The thing that I liked about this is using environmental print. And this is something that if you're in a classroom, you can make a word wall. If you are at home, you could let your kids pick out pictures that they like and then make a little ABC book with it. And they are reading. This is a book they can sit down and read because they know Coca-Cola. They might know exit sign, and these are just common words. And then they can start writing their stories with them too. So having these pictures, cutting up magazines, go to Pinterest, they're on the website, you can download just about anything you want. Yeah, Pinterest preschool, just tons and tons of stuff. Another thing you could do for environmental print that is just a really easy thing to do. You want to hold up that book, Theresa? I made my own city, and this is like the easiest. Just get one of these little cardboard fold-up things. It has a nice shiny surface, black duct tape, and then the correction tape is slick as could be. Just and I'm done. And you could do that like on the top of a tote. Instead of using the cardboard, get a small little plastic tote, take it to the doctor's office, take it when you have an appointment, take it to grandma's house, whatever. And I like this because they can create their own city. You can get some pool noodles, just cut them in half, slice them in little pieces, popsicle sticks, cut out the signs, the kids can make their own. I did some street signs, but why don't you let them pick out their favorite restaurant, McDonald's, or their favorite picture of a playground, their favorite swing, whatever. They can make their city, and then you've got language development with, where are you going? I'm going to the, and make their own little, and it's important that they get to be the ones to do it. Theresa's got a book. Every center that you have, or every play area, it needs to be book rich. In other words, find books related to that theme. Go through it that way. Phonological awareness. What sound does bike start with? B, bike. Do some B's and have letters laying around. What rhymes with bike? Trike. You can do all kinds of things. I also have my little kitchen. I'm quite proud of my kitchen.
Yes.
Oh, my teapot went off again. This is my little kitchen. And again, you can use a smaller tub if you want. This is great because, oh, I forgot to do the cars, Theresa. You need to bring those out. This is great because it also teaches kids to pick up. When you're done cooking, you put everything back in the tub and then it's all in one place. But it's a nice little portable kitchen. Again, just dramatic play practice. And we are saving our lunchbox today because we're going on a picnic.
Yeah, it just looked neat. I was like, there's something we can do with this box. I don't know what yet, but something we can do.
Theresa has some cute little cars. She has a toilet car, if you can believe. The weirder, the better. You know, I'm sorry. How many people have a toilet car? It's really a toilet.
Not too many. And the fire truck, the obligatory fire truck.
Also, you want to encourage writing, and this is for toddlers and preschoolers. You know, it might be scribble writing, it might be that they're going to paste the picture on here that they cut out, but encourage some sort of writing in every center where it's appropriate, or in every play area. If you're making a shopping list, let your kids make a shopping list. If you're writing a letter or an email, let them do that.
We used to do grocery lists at home. My son Alex, once again, I don't think I told you this story. He loved to write down 1-800 numbers that he'd see on the TV screen. And so he had this little notebook of all these 800 numbers. And he'd be like, Mom, we need to order this. No, I don't think so. So, yeah, it's fun.
Reba's pictures or actual pictures, and the younger the child, I agree, use a photograph. As they get older and are able to understand other pictures, then it's okay. But when you're just starting out, use real photographs whenever possible. And then you can even have sentence strips. You know, if you were doing your photo book about I eat, you could do I eat and then have your picture. I have lots of pictures of food in here. I eat cake, I eat, and then the kids can practice reading that. I cut out all this environmental print, made little cards. Kids can play different games with it. They could do match games, find the two that match, because I have two of everything in here. They could do sorting by maybe beginning sounds. They might look for a certain letter, like S is in Sesame Street, depending on the level and skill level of the kid. They could count the syllables. That's another good phonological awareness activity. Yogurt, and all of those beginning phonological awareness skills that they could do. For writing, they might trace over a template that you've made of a certain word, like exit, And they could practice that, or words that they might want to write on their grocery list or their to-do list. The National Association for Education of Young Children is a website that I quoted there. NAEC, what is it? I forget. Anyway, it's on your handout. But they talked about the importance of don't just teach flashcards. Don't just teach letter names or numbers and expect kids to just remember and learn how to read because you're doing that rote kind of learning. When the kids get to school or even in preschool, some of the like report card reports that you get or some of the assessments that they give throughout the year, look at, can they name the alphabet, can they count to 10, all of those things. But that's not how we teach it. We need to teach it in a rich environment, lots and lots and lots of dramatic play. Play is so important. And I don't know about you guys, but there's not a lot of play in kindergarten anymore, and that's probably not a good thing because then you become creative, inventive, you get to explore your language, try out new things, learn leadership skills, cooperation, I could go on and on. So the one caution is, even though we measure outcomes like being able to name the alphabet, that's not how we teach it. That might be something that your teachers do throughout the year as a yardstick to see how your child is progressing. It's an outcome of all the other rich literacy activities that we do, okay? So when a parent says, well, they know all of their letters, but then the teacher says, but they can't do this, this, and this, that might be part of the reason. And going back to when the National Reading Panel first came out with their research, they looked at providing even more literacy interventions at Head Start level to kids at the expense of taking out things like science and social studies and some of those other things. And what they found was the kids really did do better with letters and numbers and things like that. But as they got older, they lacked that background knowledge that they should have gotten through that well-rounded education. The preschool literacy red lights is kind of what I just talked about, that we don't want to be teaching just like specific flashcards, little toddlers. You might do that to assess periodically, but that's not how you teach the alphabet. They learn the alphabet through authentic experiences, using books, activities, dramatic play, bringing it to their attention, playing phonological awareness games, and that sort of thing. It just builds those memory links, and being able to identify alphabet, identify numbers, all of those things is an outcome of that. So it's a good tool to use for measure, but it's not how we teach it. It's not effective to have kids do worksheets to maybe pick out all the pictures that are the same or different. It's okay to do that when you're teaching the concept, same and different, because those are important concepts for kids to know, but that's not how you teach letters. So let's say you give them a worksheet with C's and D's in a row, and you tell them pick out all the C's. That's not how you teach alphabet. You do it in that authentic, literacy-rich environment. Let's move on to our resources. First Teacher of Iowa is just a project. We've done different things. In Sioux City, we worked on going to a kindergarten roundup and giving readiness materials to parents and doing a little presentation. We're happy to take our show on the road, so if you have a Head Start, a preschool, early childhood, anything, we're happy to come and meet with parents and give them handouts and all of that kind of stuff. But what I really wanted you to see, you wanted the resources. If you go to our website, there's a search button up at the top. You just type in First Teacher, and that'll take you to this screen. And then just scroll down and you'll find where it says First Teacher Free Resources. And we update that periodically. Everything on it is free. There are some for pay things, but if it is like an upgrade, you get this much free, but then there's an upgrade, then we tell you about it. We divided it up by age groups. I think it's infant, pretty much infant, and then infant toddler, and then preschool, early elementary, upper elementary, junior high, and high school. And then there's even a section we just added just for parents, with tips for parents. But on this, within those, so you click on the age group that you want. Let's do preschool. And then within that section, you will find, I think the first one is free literacy games and activities. And those are free online games, like PBS, Between the Lions, oh gosh, Starfall has some things on there. I forget what all of the websites are. But there's a whole section on just free games and activities. Some are things that are interactive that they do online. Some are things you can download and print. At this age, stay away from print as much as you can. It needs to be interactive, serve and receive. And then the next section is ebooks, meaning these are books online. Some of them are books that are read to them. Some of them are books that they can read along, and it might highlight the print as they go. There's also a section on recommended book lists. So if you want to know what some good books are for this certain age level, then that's in there too. Get Ready to Read is a program that we have used. It is an evidence-based program. It's been around for a while. It's free. Okay. Have you seen this one before? No, okay. If you click on it, it has screening tools, it has activity cards, skill building activities, just about anything you want. And there are some online games on there. And it's really geared for like 3 to 4-year-olds. Well, I should say 4-year-olds. The assessment that is on there is really meant to be given at the beginning of the year to a 4-year-old, and then again when they start kindergarten. But you could use it at different ages. Just don't use it more than 3 times a year, or it's not really valid. They kind of memorize it. Remember, those 3-year-old brains are pretty smart. This is how to find us. If you ever have a question about anything, you can contact us by phone, email us. I'm on Facebook all the time. I live on Facebook. If you message the Learning Disabilities Association, I answer you. So, and I'm on it constantly. We also have one more handout. This handout is a little sampling of some of the things we have on First Teacher, but they're just resources specific to this age. And then there are some resources, some of which I use for the presentation about evidence-based practices for early childhood. So feel free to peruse those. That's something you can take today, but it's also on our website. It's just kind of a mini version of our First Teacher. Theresa's coming around with a couple of other handouts. We didn't take the time today to talk about milestones or expected development, but we've got a couple of handouts. One is from the department. Are they both from the Department of Ed, Theresa? Okay. Just what to expect at different levels and ages. So questions, comments? Exactly. I think especially for younger children as they're learning beginning literacy skills, and for kids with learning disabilities, they really do need that multisensory approach. So there's benefit to doing the writing as well as, but it could be more with tracing. It doesn't have to be with pencil paper. But I think those are very important for kids who haven't grasped those literacy, phonemic awareness, phonics skills yet. Beginning sight words, beginning spelling. You just have to do it. As they get older, when the content becomes more advanced, that's when you might want to look at assistive technology. The other thing to consider is with assistive technology with younger kids, as long as you're not working on handwriting per se, or learning how to spell, or learning those early literacy things, it's okay to use assistive technology. So on your iPad, I forget the name of the program, but take a picture of the worksheet or the workbook page, and then they don't have to copy things, they can just maybe tap or write in. So if what the teacher is after, or the skill is after, is knowledge, or demonstrating a skill, then it's okay to use that assistive technology. But if they're learning letters and letter sounds, they really need to have that multisensory approach. So, and as they get older, assistive technology more and more important. Skip the note taking, let them listen, Somebody else can take the notes, that kind of thing.